on the video with me. This is our roadmap to success for these dog session. So these are two very, very excitable dogs. Hopefully she'll stay there. And I think that because they bark and whine a lot, the guardians have kind of, out of frustration, let them have their, or not to say have their way, but given in at times. And then the dogs have kind of gotten the impression, well, all I have to do is bark or whine or jump up or be excited and I'll get my way. So we're going to have to kind of pay the penalty and be consistent. Now, we've used positive reinforcement and force-free throughout this session, and the dogs have both responded really, really well to it. We're going to talk about rules. One of the rules is the dogs are not going to be allowed in the furniture when the humans are here. Now, when the humans are gone, if Josie's loose, she probably is going to be up there. It's okay. But when the humans are here, no furniture for a minimum of a month, but I would think in you guys' case, it's probably going to be longer than that. At the end of whatever the period of time is, if the humans decide that the dogs are allowed back in the furniture, it's with an invitation, and it's a one-time exception and only for good behavior. So if we invite Josie on the furniture and she starts barking at Chowder, the other dog who's outside barking right now, then she would have to immediately get down. We're going to try to recognize if Josie's coming and she comes and sits here and looks at the couch, she's asking, can I get up? That's when we use the first escalating consequence to disagree with her. Now, if she does continue to try, we can block her mid-air. We don't want to hurt the dog, but sometimes that kind of crash that will happen when we block them will help them accelerate their learning process. We're going to use the positive reinforcement that we went over for the treats by tossing treats onto the dog bed, and we're going to assign a command word so that we can eventually redirect the dog when it tries to get up on the couch. We can say beach or whatever the word is we use there. Another rule, we're not going to let the dogs out the door unless they sit first. We're only going to ask once. We're not even going to ask. We're going to say sit. We're going to tell them, and if she sits and he doesn't, then we open the door, let her out. He does not get to go out. I walk away from the door. We wait 1 minute, and then we walk back and give him another opportunity to comply the first time. If he doesn't comply, we walk away for 2 minutes. Next time for 4 minutes. Next time for 8 minutes. The only caveat for this is if he is barking at the door, we're going to immediately walk away. When they're barking, and we're going to have to try to ignore them as much as we can. And again, when we get them off the couch or we're correcting them, always try to redirect them into an exercise or an activity that they can do, like a sit or a down, and then pet them for that. Speaking of petting, we want to use positive reinforcement. We're going to start adding structure to petting them by petting them with a purpose. So the next time the dog nudges us, we're going to tell the dog to sit, sit. And we're just going to say the command word. We're going to avoid saying good dog. We're going to say sit or come or down or whatever it is. We're also going to use passive training. Every time the dog comes to us, we're going to pet it and say, come. Every time the dog sits on its own, we're going to pet it and say, sit. Same thing for down. Any activity that they do on a regular basis. For Chowder, we're not going to let him out of the kennel like you normally do. We're going to stand and block the way that I just got done demonstrating. We're going to take a step back as soon as he sits down. And next time we do this, the first couple times we do it, we don't want to let him out until he lays down on his own. We're not going to tell him to lay down. The door's going to be completely open. We're going to be a couple feet away. And the second he lays down, we give him the come command. And then he gets released. We're going to, let me see what else. We're going to use the escalating consequences to disagree with the dog and to establish boundaries. We like to have the humans be able to eat here. The boundary that we have practiced for feeding time is what I'd like the guardians to use during dinner time when they are eating. And if possible, we'd like them to eat before the dogs. But if we're going to feed the dogs before, we're just going to have the person feeding take a couple bites of something first. Then we're going to let the calmer dog in first. Today it was Josie. It may change. And then when Chowder, if he's barking and crying and manipulating or being difficult outside, we're going to wait for that pause. As soon as he pauses, then we're going to let him come in and eat his food. When the dog goes over and takes the first bite of food, we're going to say chow or feast or grub or whatever the command word is we want for that unique dog, and each dog should have its own command. I'd like to have you practicing the focus exercise. Each guardian should focus with the dogs each dog twice a day, preferably before you go to work and after you go to work. About 8 to 12 treats, and eventually we'd like to do it in the room together like we were doing. We'd also like to practice the stay exercise. Now the dogs know kind of some of the components of stay, but remember, stay for duration, then stay for distance, stay for distractions. There's a great video, if you forgot how to do this, if you go to YouTube and search for Teach Any Dog the Perfect Stay. That's where I got the technique from. The guy's a great trainer. I can't remember his name. Thank you, Josie. We're going to stop petting the dogs immediately as soon as they start getting excited. For Josie, as soon as she tries to put her paw up on top of us, we're going to retract our hand. That's a domination move. We're going to have to do it several times, but eventually she'll keep 4 on the floor, and then we can pet her. Sit. We're going to use passive training to pet the dogs just like that. Let me see. We're going to use the fetch before we go on walks and fetch the dogs. Now, because she is a bit of a disadvantage versus Chowder's speed, we're going to fetch them separately at first, And count the number of fetches. You might notice that for Chowder it's 17 fetches, and for her it's 26 before we get the sufficient result. Now eventually what I would like to have you doing is having one dog sit in a stay, and then I throw the ball and Chowder goes and gets it, and Chowder comes back, I put him in a stay, and I release Josie, and then she gets to go. For this reason, I might actually suggest when you teach them to stay, that each dog has a unique release word. Once, when you say break, when you say release, or free, or whatever the command is, that way we can release one and the other dog, it doesn't impede the other dog. That's why we have a different command word for eating. Let's see, we're gonna use the counter conditioning technique to stop the dogs from barking when the doorbell rings, knocks at the door, or anything else that sets them off. If children playing across the street sets them off, maybe we have somebody open the screen door a little bit when the kids are playing on the weekend or after school session, and then the dogs, we're going to have somebody else feeding the dog the treat. Off, off. There we go. Very good. Off. And after redirecting, try to use positive reinforcement or redirect. We're going to get in a habit of not walking around the dogs, rather walking through them. We don't want to hurt Josie, but we want Josie to learn that her job is to get out of our way. You guys already walked through the doors first and all that fun stuff? Okay, when you're going on walks, we're going to walk through the door first. We're also going to desensitize them for feeding and for the leashes. So we're going to do that for the leashes. If we get up and walk towards the leashes as soon as the dog walks in front of us, we're going to stop, turn around, walk back, and sit back down. It's helpful to do this at times when you're not planning on taking the dog for a walk. So when you sit down and watch TV, the dog's like, oh man, I blew it. We're not going now. For feeding, I would like to, every time you feed the dog, for every time you feed, I'd like to at least 5 times walk over there, get to opening the cabinet, opening it, the whole 9 yards, until we can go through that whole process and the dog does not get excited. So the first stage is to walk to where the leash is or the food is, and anytime the dog walks in front, we turn and walk away. We wait for the dog to settle down completely before we try it again. For the leashes, we're going to do the same process, but when we get to where the leashes are, which we probably should relocate them to here, we should probably relocate the dog bed to here as well. When you go to reach for the leash, as soon as the dog gets excited, pull your hand back, go sit down, wait again. It'll take a little bit of time, but eventually you'll be able to go through the whole process and they stay completely calm. So this is the roadmap to success for Chowder, great name, and Josie. Remember, everything that you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.